Hi guys, we're going to talk about your next project, which is a positive and negative space drawing. And here's an example of one from a former student of mine, that's Brooke. And she did opposites for her theme, for example, the sun and the moon, and she even included a quote that was in there as well. Here's another one by Jenna Algar. She just finished hers today, and she did hers about loneliness and feeling loved or surrounded by people. So come up with a theme first in your sketchbook. We're going to talk about your sketchbook requirements for this project. So the first thing you want to do is open up to your sketchbook to a new page, and you want to think about a theme. So themes could be anything. I mean, it could be about love, it could be about friendship, nature. Come up with a couple different ideas, and then come up with a couple different sketches or thumbnail sketches for them. Now, thumbnail sketch is pretty quick. It's not very detailed, but it helps you kind of plan out what your actual artwork is going to look like. And the other thing we want to be focusing on is our symmetrical or asymmetrical balance. And symmetrical balance is when it's the same on both sides. Asymmetrical balance, which I don't have on here, but I'll write it, is just the opposite. It's when it's different on both sides. So asymmetrical balance is different. I'm just going to write diff on either side. And symmetrical balance is when it's the same on both sides. So I have a bunch of different examples of asymmetrical balance. I started off with a nature theme with trees and flowers, and I divided my paper in half vertically. And I have like a pine tree on one side, and then I have like a regular, maybe like a maple tree or something on the opposite side. I did duck and a pig on this side, and then I have my music note, which was another theme. So I have nature, animals, and music. You could keep with the same theme for all three sketches. It's totally your call. But think about how you're going to divide your paper up, whether it's vertically, straight up and down to show your positive, negative space invert, or if you're going to do it on a diagonal, or horizontally. That's another thing. I just came up with another idea, and I'll show you guys my final sketch, but I want to do maybe like a ribbon crossing back and forth on a diagonal. So I'm going to play around with that idea a little bit. Maybe thinking about how I can create maybe notes on a page, have like some lines that are going across it. And I'm doing this very quickly. The idea of a thumbnail sketch is just to get something down on paper. Do this side white notes on this side. And if I do black here, maybe I'll have this be my black background and vice versa. So I'm just going to kind of play around with what it would look like on this side, and then maybe my ribbon will be black on this side with white notes on it. And I probably would also pay attention to the lines and stuff that are on there, but I can work out those details later on. That's fine. Actually, I don't think I would see notes on this side because it's bending in on itself. So, all right. So I kind of like this idea, how it's crossing back and forth. So I'm going to use that for my final. So once you have a sketch that you think is really good, what you're going to do is you're going to move on to your 10 by 10 paper, and you're going to draw it out like I've done here. And you're going to draw out, and first thing you want to decide is what areas are going to be white. So for example, what background, think of your negative space. My negative space on this side of my diagonal line that's cutting my paper is going to be white, which means that my ribbon is going to end up needing to be black, but my notes that are on the ribbon are going to need to be white. Same thing, black on this side. It may help you to write out what areas are going to be white and what areas are going to be black, because we're going to be filling them in with Sharpie, as I showed you guys in the examples above. So a couple things about Sharpies. I would grab a thin one and a thick one, and here's why. Thin ones are really nice for if you want to get some fine lines. This kind of helps you out with control. Okay. It also helps you with outlining things. So for example, I want to outline this edge that's here and go around. Make sure you move quickly with the Sharpies, because if you stay in one spot, you'll notice that it starts to bleed if you make a line. So you gotta kind of be quick with the Sharpies. So I would outline, you know, your objects and then color them in. I mean, if they're small, like this note that's here, maybe you can even color it in with the fine tip Sharpie, or you can go back in with a thicker Sharpie. Now, here's the thing with the Sharpies. If you push down incredibly hard with them, there is no difference in the amount of ink that goes onto the paper. So please don't push down on them. It makes the tips really rounded, or it pushes it inside of the Sharpie and then we can't use them anymore. So gentle with these. If you just glide it over the paper, it's going to make a mark. Okay. I like to work in different sections. For example, I'm going to work on this side and then I'll let that dry, maybe turn my paper and work on this side because it's a little bit more comfortable for me. It also prevents me from rubbing my arm across the page and smearing Sharpie. So pay attention to that, where your hand is, and that you're not smudging anything. Okay, so I'm going to finish this up, and what I like you guys to do is work on your sketches, get a good plan down, and then start working on your final.